Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining one of our Lunch and Learn series. I'm very pleased to have both Dr. Richard Kalunga from the Speech Pathology program, as well as Ms. Fatma Elshobokshy, the Acting Lead Director of C.A.L. So our session today is about integrating immersive technologies into your program curriculum. So a really great way to see how Dr. Kalunga has been using this in his program, and we'll also go over how to get started if you want to immerse or integrate immersive technologies into your own course. So let's go over the agenda for our session today. So first we'll go over why teach by experimentation, and then we'll go into why immersive technologies in general. Integrating immersive technologies in the speech language pathology program, we'll go over an overview of this, as well as implementation strategies that you can start doing right away. And we'll go over a path forward, and we will have time for Q&A. So with that, Dr. Kalunga, I hand off the mic to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. So why teach by experimentation? I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here, because that's what we do as instructors. The classroom is super dynamic. The classroom is ever-changing. Our students are never the same from one class to the next, from one semester to the next, from one cohort to the next. So the whole teaching and learning experience is deeply personal. Our students bring in a number of variables, where they are within their educational journey, their personal attributes that they bring with them. And we go into the classroom as well with our own attributes and factors. Our professional interests, for example, our professional journeys as well. So these interact and they impact the learning process. They interact with the content as well as interacting with each other. And this presents really unique learning situations with a lot of valuable data, which, if we can harness it, can really impact and enhance the learning experience and learning outcomes. So that's what we were trying to do within the speech language pathology program, is use this idea of teaching by experimentation, embracing the uncertainty that comes with it, embracing the exploration that comes with it, because we do need to give ourselves permission to try things that we may not be comfortable with. I think that's the biggest hurdle for a lot of us, because we're used to getting systems with data behind them, with evidence behind them, and applying those. We're comfortable with that. But when we encounter potentially useful systems but without evidence, we're a little hesitant there. So we do need to give ourselves permission to be able to try some of these learning situations that intuitively we know offer potential for positive impact. So I think that's the biggest hurdle that we had to jump in terms of our consideration of immersive technology. But I'm glad we did that, and we sort of dove in head first and to try to keep above water. The next question is, why immersive technologies, right? And by the way, if there, I know we have the quick Q&A at the end, but if there are any questions in the meantime that you think are best addressed at this time, I'll be glad for us to have a discussion around that. But this idea of why immersive technologies, why did this end up on our radar? Why did we think this was worth exploring? I think for most of us, and at least for the field of speech language pathology, experiential learning is somewhat the gold standard for us. The idea that individuals or students are able to engage the curriculum, engage the content in a way that's substantive, in a way that's real world like, in a way that's wholesome and immersive, really does make a difference in terms of learning. That's what we found. The real world is three-dimensional, right? We perceive in 3D. And so it's not far-fetched to think if we present information and that information is presented in 3D, other than the traditional way of presenting information by text, for example, and then we try to augment that with images, but those images are 2D images, even videos are 2D. I think that provides an extra hurdle for students to sort of have to step over in terms of internalizing information, understanding information deeply. So this 3D aspect was the draw for us in terms of immersive technologies, because what they allow us to do is create distinct experiences that merge the physical world with the digital world or the simulated reality. And that immersiveness in of itself really presents a unique way of engaging in a real life, real world like situation in instances where you may not be able to. And we feel that this really helps with understanding and retention because you're engaging multiple senses, right? And that helps with the deep learning and long-term recall as well. There's another element in terms of immersive technologies that we found really interesting, and this is the idea of the learner being able to explore independently, being able to manage how they interact with the content, being able to manipulate it, being able to direct if there is a learning path within the immersive environment, how strictly they maintain that learning path, or do they see something that's tangential, that's of interest? Can they veer off and engage that? The simulated environment allows them to do that. And this idea of taking control of your increases the motivation, increases the engagement, but also speaks to the depth of the learning. So we liked that idea of learner-centered kinds of interactions. So a lot of pluses that I think go with this exploration in terms of immersive technologies. The data that we got from the students was in line with this thinking and some of the research that's out there in terms of the positives that are presented by immersive technology. So some of the feedback we got from our students was that it really allowed them a better opportunity, a better way of visualizing difficult and abstract concepts. So in speech pathology, we do a lot of anatomy and physiology. So you're looking at the brain, you're looking at the oral mechanism, for example, and being able to understand that from a 2D representation is fairly difficult. But when you bring in the immersive component, then that comes alive. And the students thought that would be a really good way of facilitating learning as far as anatomy was concerned, physiology was concerned as well. They thought it increased creativity. So that was really interesting. Creativity and engagement, those sort of go hand in hand. And the idea of personalized learning as well. The concept of engaging in real world lessons, but in a low risk scenario was particularly important. We do have procedures that our students have to engage in, such as swallowing, examining swallowing in clients, doing an oral make examination, that's an intraoral examination. And those are invasive procedures. And for a student that's learning, to have to do that the first time on a client is very daunting. But there's a certain level of risk involved as well. But that's something that we could do virtually and really manage that situation to advantage the student in terms of learning. So they could have multiple goals at it. They could have different types of manipulations without having to worry that the patient is going to be uncomfortable or it could cause harm to the patient. So that was important. We also have within the clinic, for individuals that stutter, once they go through the intervention process, we're trying to get them to use those strategies that they've learned in the real world. And the real world comes with risks in terms of it's stressful, it's the kind of reactions that you might get, those negative reactions can have long-term impact on our clients. So to be able to have them engage in real world-like situations, whether it's ordering at a restaurant or giving a presentation, but in a controlled way where we manage the variables and allow them to stay in that slowly and in a comfortable way. All of those were huge positives. So there just were a number of applications that we thought were a really good fit for us as a program. And that would be positives for us if we were able to institute immersive technologies. Job skills, important. Employability for our students. We're looking at ways of always giving them an edge. How can we make our students stand out from the crowd? And immersive technologies, virtual reality, that's the next big thing. It's here. It's a skill set that a lot of employers will be looking at. And so to have our students have that under their belt is important to us. We're also looking at enrollment. We're always trying to increase our numbers. So what can make us stand apart from other programs? And we did a survey, and overwhelmingly students indicated that if they were looking to enroll in a program, if there was a program that had full immersive technology within the curriculum, that they would pick that over one that didn't. So those are the kinds of things that I think it's worth looking at. So if you're looking at your program, look at what these technologies might be able to offer, but just brainstorming the possibilities and being open to what those could be, I think it's a good place to say. I think there's always, in most cases, there's always a path forward for the use of technologies in most programs and in most fields. So if we could just take a look at a video here of our students. This was their interaction around immersive technologies. And then I'll talk about the implementation process that we went over. Our approach was to first get students to understand and experience the various immersive technologies that are available. And that included virtual reality, augmented reality, and 360-degree video. We wanted them to experience the various degrees of immersion, understand passive versus interactive applications, and get a feel of how closely immersive interactions and environments can mirror real-world situations, primarily because they engage most of the senses that a human uses when navigating real-world environments. We wanted them to experience some of the physiological variables and effects, the psychological effects as well, and the different emotional states that can be induced through immersive experiences. And I think to feel that is something that's really special. We wanted them to get excited about the possibilities that these technologies offer, and for them to begin to imagine how they could possibly apply the various technologies to learning and also to clinical practice.
This is insane.
I would say that it's definitely expanded my learning. So I would say, yeah, engaging,
Okay.
interactive, life-changing.
Fun. Interesting.
It's fun, but very close.
Very close.
It will help you, even though you can't be hands-on, but at least you can get the idea, without having hands-on, the real thing. I love it.
Aggressive.
We then wanted to expose students to applications that address content covered in some of their major courses, and selected several human anatomy and physiology augmented reality applications. Students were able to view, they were able to navigate and manipulate various anatomical structures. Interestingly, after the experience, one of the students commented that she wished she had had this when she took anatomy, saying, "It took me 7 weeks to learn the larynx, and I could have done it in a few days." To which a friend retorted, "It took me the whole semester."
The augmented reality that nice because it's more portable. You can just take your phone or iPad wherever you are.
Students were able to experience with VR, which is an application that can be used to treat individuals that stutter, by having them practice fluency techniques in different speaking situations, such as ordering at a restaurant or giving a presentation. The software also allows the clinician to collect various biometric measurements that speak to therapeutic outcomes, so that's really nice. They were also able to engage in a conversation about VR and stuttering intervention with the developer of the software, who is also a person that stutters, just opening them up to the possibilities of what's out there.
This would be good for a teacher who teach anatomy and physiology because they can point out each section of the body and that I guess their students will look to see what it is, each part. This is real nice, even for students too. This is real good. I like this, I do.
SLP rocks!
So I don't know how many of you encountered this, but this is something that we see from almost every year, from semester to semester, and it just happened to me yesterday. I was teaching a course in language acquisition. This idea of transfer and retention of skills. So we were talking about voice production in infants and toddlers, and talking about the mechanisms that undergird voice production. So you've got the entire respiratory system, look at the muscles and the oral structures and all of that. And I had the bullet points of what's involved in producing voice. And I asked the students to walk me through that process. I wanted them to own it, to be able to articulate it and talk through it. And a couple of students did do that. One of them talked through it, and then another one talked through it. And then after they had done that, one of the second student that had a go at it said, "Well, could I just note something here? Because I don't know whether it was a memory issue for me, but this is something that we had done last semester, and they had actually used an app to go over the process of voice production, and said, I struggled with recalling the information, although I did know the information at the time, and I know my friend as well recalled more information, but also struggled with some information, and so, but this has helped because I then went over a video with them. It says, but this has helped to reinforce that that again. And so we had this discussion about that exposure that they had, the apps that they had, and it wasn't full immersion. But you can see how that's an opportunity, at least for us, to compare some of our methodologies and strategies that we've used, to place that alongside full immersion and see if we begin to get more retention, more carryover, and just what the students feel as well in terms of that encounter, whether it's more robust or not. So there's an opportunity for us to bring it in and try it, because we did talk about VR and what they thought the difference might be if we engaged it. So there are always opportunities there for us to look at what we're doing, our existing work versus what we can do slightly different, and then hopefully we can collect the data to support any moves that we make. But I thought I just would mention that. So looking at the process that we went through, I would be remiss if I didn't couch all of this within the context of developing a proposal. It is really important that you're able to articulate what the process is, what the concept is, because that's your roadmap. That sort of puts in black and white what your ideas are, what the evidence is, and helps to clarify the process. That's what we got. It was a very dynamic process that changed along the way, but it gave us accountability as well. So we know what needed to be done when. We knew what, at least we anticipated what courses we were going to introduce the immersive technology in, and the reasons why would pick those courses for the initial introduction, because they were a better fit, because they were at the front end of our track system, and even considering faculty and their buy-in and their interest and their ability to be able to transition easily in those initial stages. So some faculty might more readily feel, okay, this is a load that I can handle and jump into it. The proposal allows you to be able to articulate to stakeholders what it is you're trying to do. So if you're talking to C.A.L, because this is not something that you can do alone, the resources that you need are varied, and then they're not going to be within the program. So to be able to say, this is what we're doing, and these are the plans, there's no better way than a proposal to do that. Justifications with the deans, for example. Not everybody is at the same stage in terms of understanding what the immersive technologies are, understanding what the impact will be for your particular program, and that kind of thing. So really important, but also just knowing that it is going to be dynamic. It is going to change. Our proposal went through several iterations. I don't know, you want to add on something here, Fatma?
Yeah, I just want to say, well, thank you, Dr. Kalunga, for working with us on this. Really, it has been a great experience. I'm talking even on behalf of our C.A.L team, because Dr. Kalunga and I, we started this in the summer. I mean, May, I think late spring of 22. Am I correct, Dr. Kalunga?
That's right.
And has been really like, we don't know everything, and even because this is new technology in the field in general. So I appreciate Dr. Kalunga's patience. We always have, sometimes we try things, but we found out it's not working, or it's too focused on the app rather than the learning. And so it's always back and forth, and it takes some time. And I appreciate his patience with us. Because it was learning curve for me and for the team as well. David, Julian, Pat are here, and Dominique as well. So this is just not something, this is not a plan that we have to follow a rigid plan. It just really flow, and we change and we go back. And if we look at this now, we can change it again, right, Dr. Kalunga?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But when we and even the courses that we integrated into in the fall, when we gonna go visit it in fall 23, we're gonna change it again because we learned a lot from the student feedback, and we learned a lot, and the technology evolved. So it's nothing like it's gonna turn on and we're gonna leave it, but it's always continuous improvement.
Yeah, that's super important. And the idea that you don't have to have well-formed ideas.
Yep.
I didn't need to know everything that was out there about technology. I didn't need to know, and I still don't know, all the resources that are out there. But the CA.L team is just super fantastic. I give them a raw idea. This is what we'd like to do. And they'll branch off and say, how about this? I'm like, wow, I didn't actually even think about that. So you don't have to wait until you have a well-formed idea of the way to proceed. Don't have to wait until you have all the assets in terms of the apps that you need.
Yeah.
That's something that will happen in a very collaborative way. And in terms of bringing that technology into the classroom, just ultra supportive. That's one less thing that you need to worry about. I think the faculty buy-in is really important because it's important for faculty to understand, or at least to appreciate that, yes, I'm going to have to do a little bit, but the important thing is, in the long run, the benefits outweigh sort of this extra effort that I'm putting in at the front end. The student outcomes are hopefully going to be enhanced. Once you have that technology in place, the learning environment becomes a much smoother and more effective learning environment. So there are a lot of positives that, as you engage in discussions as faculty and share information, these light bulbs keep going out and says, wow, I didn't know I could do that with it. I could do that with it. And this makes it so much easier to do the work that I'm already doing this way, but I don't have to go over it a couple of times before students actually get it. So that faculty buy-in is really important, and it's part of the exploration process, and feeds into the proposal because you're researching all of whatever you're putting into the proposal. And you're looking at aligning it with program goals and college goals, aligning it with accreditation requirements. I know for accredited programs, they're coming in and they're looking at any changes that you've made, and they're looking at the paper trail and saying what was the impotence for this, and what is the evidence around it. So that paper trail is really important. The identification of courses and the course sequence, I talked about that. And then you've got this idea of dynamic problem solving. Can't say enough about that.
We always have technical challenges, and sometimes we don't know where we're going, but we just dive into it and we find a solution. And this is what I really appreciate about you, Dr. Kalunga. I think getting into a technology, we have to be open-minded about what problem will be encounter and how to pivot quickly. So this is really an important, specifically for immersive technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. And transparency becomes important. Yep. In the process. Yeah. So as we talk about faculty buy-in here, there's also the idea of student buy-in. Yeah. Because as you bring this to the classroom and to the students, for them to understand the utility of this technology, the impact, the potential for this technology to sort of transform how they engage and how they learn, and for them to understand that, hey, you're collecting data, you're learning this just as much as they are learning about it. And that in of itself becomes part of the learning process, part of the research process, part of the evidence collection process. I know in speech pathologies, because we're clinical, when our clients engage, or our students engage with clients, we tell them that whatever they do, it has to be based on evidence, and that particular encounter involves collection of evidence that they're going to use to sort of determine the path forward. So we let them know, we let our students know, we're collecting evidence right now, and you're part of this learning process, and we need your input. We value your input. And we're trying to do something that there's not much out there in the field, so you're part of this pioneering group. And so they become a little more forgiving of those hiccups that happen, and realize that's part of that learning and discovery process. So bringing them in, that buy-in is super important.
And I have student from Dr. Kalunga's class been in touch with me. Oh, we have ideas for you. Can we come talk to you about? And having this involvement in the learning process of our team, it's really important. So and they feel more valuable to the institution. They are invested into learning. So, and this is all what we want.
Absolutely, yeah. It was actually. It was heartwarming after that presentation that we just saw. One of the students came to me and says, "You know what? I'm no longer in Dr. Bradford's class. I don't think I'll see her, but this would be great for her class. If you could please tell her and just let her know about it." It's like, that's fantastic. I mean, she made the connection. I didn't have to. So, and that's sort of where we would like them to sort of be. So let's look at the implementation. And
Dr. Kalunga, did we talk about the data collection?
No, we didn't.
So let's talk about the data collection, because this is really part of, as an institution, looking to be more deep in the research. And we started this new technology, and the technology is really new also in embracing by higher education in general. So collecting that data baseline, it's really important. So and you don't have to create everything from scratch. We have a lot of questionnaire that we can help. Everyone would like to start with us. So having post and pre-survey and keep asking feedback, it really helped collecting these data, and hopefully we'll do a research paper, contribute to academic about how immersive technology enhance student learning and increase learning outcomes.
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you, Fatma. And that's something that we built in because we're very cognizant of the fact that all of this is really driven by data. Yes, it's exciting technology. Yes, it looks like it would be beneficial, but what's the support behind it? What does the data show? So if we're going to shift and integrate it in our courses and in different activities, we're not just integrating it for the sake of integrating it. We're integrating it because it's more effective. We're integrating it because it makes positive changes, whether it's with regards to engagement, whether it's with regards to outcomes. So we needed to collect data around that. So some of what I showed you before in terms of what students thought about the utility and the uses and positive impacts, that was from the data that we collected. Yep. So we did the pre and we did the post. And a lot of that aligned with the limited research that you've got out there, and particularly in our field, there is not much in speech-language pathology evidence with regards to immersive technologies. The medical field has a little bit more. Yeah,
and I agree with you, Dr. Kalunga. There is not a lot about immersive technology and VR, immersive technology specifically around the schools around us. So that would be a really increase on enrollment. It will be like really triggering, oh, I want to go to this school because they really have cutting edge technology. And at the same time, these data collection will help us in getting grant because immersive technology, it's very expensive to implement. very expensive. And as a HBCU, we have limited resources. So by collecting these data and writing some research, going to conferences, we will be able to draw some good proposal, put it out there to get more grant, to help us leverage more this technology, whether for your program to get more help and to get more increased enrollment, which is really gonna put our UDC forefront.
Absolutely. So keep coming back to this idea of, when's the best time to jump into the water? The best time is always now. You might get that initial shock. It's a little cold, but it gets pretty comfortable in a very short while. But Fatma makes a really important point that if you make data collection just a natural part of the process, it's the jumping step, it's a stepping stone for a whole lot of other possibilities. I know our national body association is super excited about immersive technologies. They have a number of grants there. They're literally asking for people to submit proposals. So when you have the initial pilot data from just a few encounters, that really helps with your case. And because the software does cost a bit, that's a pathway in terms of accessing software that you might need. But there are just a whole bunch of opportunities out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the strategies.
Right. So in terms of implementation, so faculty training, it's really at the top of what needs to be in place, and the support. And we're lucky that C.A.L is absolutely there and was there for us. So that wasn't much of a hurdle for us. What we decided to do, though, in terms of implementation, because we have our students coming in terms of cohorts, we thought it was really necessary at the beginning to expose them in a comprehensive way to immersive technologies, to have them experience what the possibilities were out there, have them experience in a fun way, and this is part of the buy-in, in a really fun way, what they could do, what this technology presented, before we had them look at applications. And we wanted to bring the whole cohort in because this was going to be something that was program-wide. And looking at the path forward as we move into the different courses, then they would all have the same basic foundational knowledge in immersive technologies on which to build on, and in which individual instructors can then layer on and immediately jump into the content and application of immersive technologies to specific assignments and specific activities. So this was the initial step, was to launch a unit on immersive technologies, an interactive unit that had an experiential component to it. It had the learning and the evidence part of it, in terms of just understanding what the evidence was out there generally in terms of use of immersive technologies within the medical field, as far as we were concerned, and then within speech pathology and other field. And then once they grasped that bit, we went through the experiential part, which is experiencing that immersion. And that was a really cool part of the engagement. Having them.
I agree. Can I add something to this, Dr. Kalunga? So we started with one module for that first class that we did with Dr. Kalunga, and then for the fall, for the same class, we decided, okay, now we know what we're doing, and we're gonna start that. We're gonna add this as a module for in the beginning of the semester, the beginning of the class, and every module we will have something about immersive technology included. So the whole course, they will interact with immersive technology in one way or another. So, and this is really what we are looking for, but it took a good amount of time for us to really understand how we can do this in that specific class. So, and I appreciate, again, I'm going to bring back your patient, and I will thank you for working with us on this, because that was learning curve for myself and also David, Julian, Dominique, and Pat.
Mm-hmm. And that's the dynamic nature of it. It was always surprising to me that students got it, because even at the end of that unit, one of the comments from the students was, loved it, but it should have been at the beginning of the semester so that we could apply it. And we're like, yeah, thank you. We were still trying to iron out the kinks. We're trying to figure out a whole bunch of things. So that's where we are now in terms of, you're really now looking at the curriculum, you're looking at your course, looking at the engagements in the course, and looking at how and where can I best utilize immersive technologies.
Yep.
And you're looking at the outcomes, you're looking at the objectives and aligning all of those and collecting evidence at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so we had the engagements with innovators, bringing people in. I think it's always important because you couch it within the context of the larger community, and you're able to expose students to the possibilities out there. And particularly in this field, there's so much collaboration. And by its very nature, you have to collaborate across fields. So for our speech pathology students to understand, I could actually work with my fellow students over in computers, for example, in maybe art, as we're looking to sort of create environments, different types of environments. So that collaborative nature and seeing beyond just our fields was important. So that's sort of how we went through the implementation. Had them look at resources. So it's great to say, okay, we have this activity and here's the resource, but I think it's even better to say we have this learning objective. Why don't you go out and look for resources out there that you think might be able to accomplish the outcomes that we're looking for, and how we would like to apply, whether it's VR into the field. So we had them do that. And they came back with some really interesting ideas and interesting applications. And that allows you to sort of see the gaps, if there are any gaps, see the opportunities where they are. And if you need to engage in terms of developing, we're always looking at that, then, our students can collaborate. I think there are opportunities here across the different disciplines within UDC for us to really work together. Yes, Fatma?
Yeah, and it gave us, I think this piece is really important because it gave us what is phase 2 from integrated immersive technology into UDC learning ecosystem. Phase 2 is creating opportunity for our students to create immersive learning experience, whether app or creating virtual spaces. And, so it gave us really, what is the phase 2? We're still not there yet. We're still in phase 1. So, but we are working on phase 2 when we have space and money.
Yeah, absolutely. And the collaboration, it's, you look at the apps that we're using in speech pathology, gosh, who went into, what kind of disciplines were involved in developing those apps across the spectrum? And we have all of that expertise at UDC. So I think part of my excitement, I think as Fatma talks about the different phases, is just to look at the ways in which we can collaborate across disciplines and across departments within UDC.
Yep.
Yeah, so anything else on implementation?
No, I think that will lead us, that implementation on all these discussion allow us to evolve to different path. And I want you to also to discuss about how we got into the conference, how are you going to present in June. So
That's and I think we just heard back, that was this week, right?
Yeah.
So as we were ironing all of this out and trying to figure out which way we were going, there was an announcement that came in for a conference over. It's the
EDU Connect is it international EDU Connect in Greyhound. It was EDU Connect.
Yeah. EDU Connect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is they're holding it in DC this year, but it's it brings industry together, governmental agencies together around innovation, and research institutions together around innovation and that kind of thing. And we threw this together with the limited data that we had, and just the prospective nature of it. We threw it together and we got this proposal in, and we just got accepted to present. So we're super excited about that. But there's if you sort of do it systematically, thank you, Ravi, I appreciate that. Again, the data collection is inbuilt within the system. The vision is inbuilt within the system. So it was very easy for us to get all of those together and just tie them together and tailor them towards what the conference was looking at. And there are funding opportunities there too. They have really huge industry giants coming in, looking at ideas and looking at whether they can, what ideas are ready for commercialization and that kind of thing. So we're looking to pitch and looking forward, pitch some of this because we're looking to move our impact into the community. I think this is technology and that's best beneficial on the ground, and particularly when you look at the digital divide, we want to make sure that our surrounding communities have access, that our teachers, we have relationships with DCPS and charter schools, that our teachers have access to these technologies. In terms of the clinical element, that clients that receive services also have access to this. So we're looking to use those connections to make it more widespread. And so being able to upscale, again, we're going to start this really small, but then be able to upscale it where we're bringing in teachers and exposing them to this technology and looking at applications within the classroom. We're bringing in clinical supervisors and looking at the clinical implications and how can they use this service, use these applications for providing services to clients within the district. So that's sort of where we're looking in terms of future engagement here. Anything else there, Fatma, that you wanted to add?
No, I put the conference name in the chat, and just to add, when we put the proposal together, guess what helped us is the proposal that we added in the beginning. So, and that really was a big help, and we cut and paste the small pieces and we added somewhat we want. So always the beginning of the proposal really, I always stress on that, it really helped us to move forward. And for the UDC VR TR Hub, the UDC VR Training and Research Hub, and I just want to tell the story about this a little bit, because this wouldn't happen if Dr. Kalunga was really patient enough with us to really dig into the resources, what we have, what the market has. So we found this opportunity, and it was like, that could be incorporated really well in the curriculum, and also it could be an outreach for UDC community. So again, it's an evolving process, and I see that hub as part of this. We didn't intend to do that. That was like, it was like an hour. We found it out. We talked it about for 2 weeks, and then let's do it. And we put the proposal even for the UDC hub. We had a proposal for it to get the money for to buy the equipment. So thank you, Dr. Kalunga. We really appreciate faculty like yours.
Oh no, thank
So-
you. The hub and we have a research assistant in there, and she's
Yeah.
looking to pursue research in VR. So it's about creating opportunities for our students and getting them excited and engaged.
And we will have a web page for the hub soon. We are working on the details. What is it, and all the proposal about it, and what is the stage for it. Hopefully by the summer, all gonna be up on a website.
Excellent. And thank you, Dr. Kalunga. Thank you, Fatma. So I wanted to just briefly go over some of the resources here available at UDC if you'd like to get started right away. So we are working on an Immersive Technologies mobile lab, but on the 6th floor of our center, we have VR headsets that includes the Oculus Quest 2, as well as the HTC Vive Focus 3. And talking about AR or augmented reality, we have our iPads and our Merge Cube. The Merge Cube allows you to, look at a cell or a frog up close, just using your phone or your iPad. That's a really great tech tool. We also have Farsight XR. That's a body anatomy app that you can use, as well as a workshop. If you'd like to learn more about virtual reality for you or your class, we can come in, we can do a demo. We can also get feedback from your students. That is a great opportunity. And also create your own immersive experiences using ThingLink. ThingLink is an app that we have here for all faculty, all students. You're able to create your own 360 images or video that you can annotate with hotspots and also view on a VR headset. So lots of great opportunities for you to get started. So in just a moment, I'll go over how to access this on our website with an immersive technology request. But first, let's go ahead and take some questions from the audience if you have any.
I have no questions, but full of adoration, excellent work, and kudos to Dr. Kalunga and Fatma and all others who are involved in it. I'm really excited to know that UDC is at the leading edge, and this is fantastic. Really good, really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Kalunga, I have a question for you. So what would you say are the top 3 key takeaways that you hope participants gained from this webinar?
3 top takeaways.
Yep.
The moment is now. There really isn't any good reason as to why one might not want to step in and just give it a go. The proposal, whatever you have envisioned, whatever you're thinking about, just put it down, begin to work on it, write it down, and there's a lot of time and opportunity to fine tune it, to change it, and that's okay. That's part of the process. And the third one is there are a ton of resources and just beautiful people that are here to help you. So the CAL team is absolutely here. So even if the idea is one word, just toss that word out there and you'll be surprised what superlatives they'll come up with, and like, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Excellent. I think that's a great summary. So Dr. Kalunga, I do want to extend a thank you for all your time and expertise. Definitely your passion showed throughout the presentation, and it was wonderful to hear more about how you've used this in the speech language pathology program. So thank you again for dedicating your time to really advancing education through the use of immersive technologies.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, CAL team, and thank you everyone that participated, and UDC community. Really, thank you.
Yep, and just a few things I want to go over. So if you look in the chat box, I have put the link for the consultation request for Immersive Technologies, as well as our YouTube link. This will be uploaded shortly on our YouTube channel. And if you do have any questions about next steps, calhelpdesk@udc.edu. So if you do click on that first link I put in the chat box, you'll see, just scroll down after you put your name, your email, your phone number, school and college, click on Immersive Technologies, and then one of the CAL team members will get in touch with you. So look at that, a little bit under an hour. Perfect, that was a great webinar. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and we hope to see you very soon. Bye-bye, everyone.